Go.
Scary cat. Hey y'all, I'm Ben Neuhaus. I host SOP Weekly because I own Snake Oil Provisions. It is a store and you guys shop there and it's rad. This week and next week you will see us spending a day with Karl of Rogue Territory up in downtown Los Angeles at their HQ warehouse, showroom, everything. And we ended up with a lot of good content and we didn't want to cut any of it.
It's dynamite.
It is. It's really good. So instead of 9, 10, 11 minute episodes, you're going to get like 20 to 30.
Two of them. Back to back.
Back to back. Consecutive even.
Right.
So stay tuned. Watch them in their entirety. You will learn lots of things that you didn't know. I learned a lot of things I didn't know. And it's really good. So appreciate you watching. Next 2 weeks.
Say bye to Scary Cat.
It's fragile.
Oh.
Limited quantity.
I'll just put it right there.
Made in Japan. Those
Handmade.
are proprietary.
Hey, Ben.
This color.
Go. What's crackin' y'all? I'm Ben Neuhaus, owner, proprietor of Snake Oil Provisions in Long Beach, California. This is SOP Weekly.
You hear that reverberation?
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That's why you got this room, wasn't it?
Yes. I walked in. I was
The acoustics. Anywho, this is Karl.
What's up?
This is the man behind Rogue Territory.
Indeed. Isn't that your first question?
It is. So the first segment will be a little redundant.
Good. I like that.
So
I mean, people, the first 30 seconds, people aren't really paying attention.
they're probably already gone. They probably tuned
We
out.
lost them.
I'm dozing on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Karl,
Yes.
who are you? Where do you hail from?
Mm.
What do you do?
Karl Thoennessen, originally New Jersey. Chatham, not Trenton.
Okay, because I had that in my questions. Yeah.
Co-owner and kind of creative director, designer of Rogue Territory. Denim goods and
It's a whole apparel
yes,
collection.
it is.
I guess folks mainly know it for the blue jeans.
Yep.
But it's shirting, outerwear, accessories.
Yeah, we like to play around with new stuff every season and between seasons. So
Yeah.
kind of whatever.
Well, you're real good at it.
Thank you.
I was a customer before. I was a shopkeep, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
You and I go way back.
We do.
Years back. Our customers are super rabid for it,
Indeed.
so it's pretty rad.
I'm
proud of you.
It's been a great journey.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. And you're a young man.
Thank you.
Seriously,
Yeah, I'm pretty
we were
young.
talking about that on the way up here.
Yeah?
How young you are and everything that you've done
Oh.
with this brand.
Oh.
It's kind of mind-boggling.
I don't.
Because I'm 50 years old. And I'm only closing in on 2 years of having a shop.
Right.
You're 33.
I am. I always think that I'm 31, but
No,
thank you
you're
for
not.
reminding me.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The last 2 years I've been telling people I've been 31. So.
You're 31.
Yeah.
And the first full collection launched in 09.
Yeah.
That's 6 years.
I know, it's kind of crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's really nuts.
Yeah, I try not to think about it.
You don't need to. It's better that you don't. Okay, let's get into the questions.
All right.
You were a skate rat.
I was.
As a young lad.
Mm-hmm.
How, if at all, like consciously or subconsciously, did that influence Rogue Territory, what you do now?
So, as a skater, you're constantly kind of, at least for myself, I won't speak for every skater,
Sure.
but I was constantly aware of like what I was wearing while I was skating, and kind of just seeing just watching videos, watching my favorite professional skateboarders, how they dressed, and just kind of like trying to figure out what I was interested in.
Yeah.
And that kind of all was surrounded by skateboarding. So I was constantly like putting shoe goo on my shoes.
Sure.
And
Sure.
And
Well, out of necessity.
right.
Yeah.
But then, like, toying with that and looking at your shoes and thinking about, oh, okay, my ollie hole's a little bit further back, so I'm going to start, like, putting, I put, like, a inner tube rubber on the shoe,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
shoe glue over it, and
Yeah.
so I don't know. I started out that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think skateboarding kind of led me into streetwear.
Yep.
And streetwear was really what kind of made me focus not so much on the fashion aspect of it, but more on the identity aspect of it, and kind of really starting to understand how people were presenting themselves through their clothing, and
Yeah.
actually that was a medium for self-identity.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I mean, you look at clothes and you're like, oh yeah, I wear a t-shirt and a pair of jeans and a shoe and skate shoes, and that makes me a skater.
Right.
But then it's like, okay, well, what brands do you wear?
Yeah.
What kind of skateboard do you use? What kind of shoes do you wear?
Yeah.
And you know, like all questions that you're kind of aware of, but you start to ask yourself those questions of what you kind of prefer as a person, as a skater, as someone that's like interested in that culture.
Yeah.
So I think I've taken all of those influences, defined who I was, what I liked, and through streetwear, sneaker culture, graffiti art, all of that kind of led me to customizing my own clothing, making my own kind of brand, if you will. And then
Sure. Yeah.
and then it was easy. It wasn't a thing I had to think about when I started thinking what kind of jeans. Now that I know how to make jeans, what kind of jeans would I want to wear, and what would they look like?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of just a natural progression, I
Yeah.
guess.
Excellent. That was very thought out.
Oh,
I appreciate that. But because I
try.
yeah, I was not a skater dude. I got a guitar for my 12th birthday instead of a skateboard, so I kind of went that route. But I was into all that stuff too, and I see it in Rogue territory, where maybe a lot of folks don't.
Okay.
There's like a grown-up streetwear element.
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. I've always played with that. I've always been, for whatever reason, even though when I grew up in New Jersey, I was influenced a lot more by New York street culture and style. I frequented like Soho, so I was at Stussy a lot, and Union, and just kind of like meandering around those streets.
Yeah.
And it and then once I moved to San Diego, I mean, I was aware of Southern California kind of West Coast style throughout, but it didn't really hit me until I moved to San Diego in 2005, and I started seeing the streetwear scene kind of pop up there from Orange County down.
Yeah.
And mixed with like the Rukas and the Stussies again, and just kind of seeing how that's more of a lifestyle brand, whereas in New York it just seemed like people were on the street. There was nothing really to associate with, so I started kind of identifying more with this kind of like skateboard kind of SoCal lifestyle, but still liked a little bit more kind of cleaned up, grown up approach to streetwear instead of full graphic tees. And I mean, there was definitely that stage, but I kind of moved beyond that pretty quick.
Yeah.
But I think moving to San Diego really kind of crystallized kind of what I was attracted to in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good deal. Because you mentioned Stussy, everybody knows my deal is Stussy.
Mm-hmm.
And I always identified it with, because it was always a mixture of skate, surf, and music.
Yeah.
And it was something that I never even could necessarily put my finger on exactly what it was that drew me to it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the West Coast calling me. I don't know. But whatever. I love it. Intro into premium blue jeans. What was your like first foray into something that like wasn't at your pennies or your five and dime, your neighborhood mom and pop type deal?
Again, I was wandering around Soho, and I at this time it was 98, and I was still in high school. I could just take the train into the city whenever. We skated there too, but I was just wandering around. I happened to visit my sister. Happened upon Diesel Style of all places.
Sure.
And at that time, most of the stuff in that store was runway, European fashion stuff.
Yeah.
And in the back of the store, they had a wall of denim, and that was the first time I had been introduced to kind of like a curated but denim selection on that scale.
Yeah.
Like normally you're walking through stores, you'll see a couple stacks here and there of that, but that was the first time I was really drawn to it, and tried on a pair of jeans, looked at the price tag, and I was like, oh hell no.
Yeah.
$129, this is crazy. Like, who would ever spend that kind of money?
Yeah.
But like I walked out, and the whole transaction, I mean, the salespeople had nothing to do with it. It was really just kind of this unattainable thing that I was drawn to for whatever reason. And it stuck with me. And I wound up having dinner with my sister one night, and we were talking about the jeans, and she was asking me questions about it. And I was like, I don't really know why I like these, and it wasn't even so much about the fit. It was just kind of like the whole presentation. And the fact that I can't afford them.
Sure.
And sure enough, my birthday comes around, she got me those pairs.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was just stoked. Threw them on, couldn't wait to get to school.
Break some necks.
Yeah, and everybody, nobody was like, oh damn, look at those jeans.
Yeah.
Like, it was more of like, oh, I noticed you got a new pair of jeans. I was like, they're $129. Woo! And people were like,
what?
You're an idiot, dude. But there was something about it that, and I wasn't like, it wasn't I mean, sure, it was a little bit of a bragging thing, because I was definitely the only one in school with those jeans. But at the same time, it was something that like made me feel special. It made me feel different. It made me feel like I was in the know where other people weren't.
Totally.
And I wanted to explore that more, that feeling kind of, and what that was about. So I just started asking a lot of questions about denim, where it came from, really kind of dissecting the jeans and what I liked about them.
Yeah.
And it was really that the back pocket was simple, but there was that Diesel label on the coin pocket, where you will see it only when you catch a glimpse, because we were wearing bigger t-shirts back then anyway. So it was one of those things where I was like, oh. And then I was like, yeah, I'm wearing my triple studded belt with a pair of Diesel jeans, torn up skate shoes, and an oversized t-shirt. I'm like,
owning it.
Yeah.
Can't tell you nothing.
I felt good.
Yeah.
And then a week, maybe a year later, I got a black on black pair. And those were like my two that just were always in my rotation. I didn't think about any other denim, but I constantly was going to the city and looking. And then I forget where it was. I think it was probably at Union, where I was introduced to a Visu. They had like one pair, they were in a box, and they were just like on a shelf somewhere. They're like, don't touch those. and then it was just kind of like the next step in streetwear. Like, the dudes in New York who were spending $500 on their Nikes were then spending another $500 on their denim.
Yeah. And
I was like, what is this about? So I just started kind of one of my buddies who I was working with at Urban Outfitters, he was into it. He had his own t-shirt line. He had a pair of double RL jeans, selvage. He was like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on it for sure. He was also in the graffiti scene in New York. And he was like, yeah, dude, you have to look for these. These are like what the signature things you need to look for. The selvage, the red tab.
Yeah.
You know, look in the pockets for all the Levi's stuff, because there was a lot of Levi's, like, fake, even then, LVC fake stuff going around the city. He was like, look for these stamps. And so it was kind of like, it was just a whole new world. It was just something that was exciting. So as I was still buying Diesel jeans, I was still looking for like that next thing. Because like Diesel only did a certain amount of raw, and their raw was like this wash raw. It wasn't.
It was like a rinse. Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got into it. Then I bought my first pair of Visus online through eBay.
Were they legit?
No, they're fake.
Oh!
Yeah. So I wore them for like a week. And
before you knew? Or you?
Yeah, before I knew. And then I started looking at them, and I was like, the construction looks a little off. The stamp looks a little weird. The pockets don't look correct. They were still a great pair of jeans, but then this was a Visu, so I got those in 2001. And I went to college in the fall. I was waiting in line. Some dude comes up to me, and he's like, oh, those are those jeans that Jay-Z's wearing, right? Yeah. And I was like, oh, hell no. And I just donated them right away. And then from there, it was just kind of on the road to find salvage, but then
progression through Japanese.
Yeah,
brands.
so I didn't get into a pair of Japanese denim until like 2004 from Japan, PBJs.
Yeah.
But for those who don't know, Pure Blue Japan.
Pure Blue Japan.
and I love them. But before that, I went to Amsterdam for a few months on a study abroad program. I got into a pair of Lee 101Zs.
Oh yeah.
And then another pair of
Zippers,
Lees.
huh?
Yeah. Button up on the other pair, and I love the shit out of those.
Yeah, yeah.
I got a fresh pair of Dunks in Amsterdam. I was chasing.
Oh, those highs.
Yeah, highs.
Those are tight.
Yeah.
Real
So yeah. And then that was kind of, but I was skating in them, so I didn't really. I was sweating in them. I wound up washing them too early. The indigo bled out of them too quick. They just looked like crap. So I was just like constantly on, looking for a new pair.
Yeah.
And then 501 1947 came out in 2005, and I started wearing those kind of like exclusively for a while.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Being a business owner.
Yeah.
And being a family man, you kind of have to make your own hours.
Yeah.
So you're probably doing all hours of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So walk us through like a typical Tuesday. Go.
There is no typical Tuesday with a kid. Basically, my schedule and Leslie's schedule revolves around Stella's.
Yeah, totally.
So nap in the morning, nap in the late afternoon, bed, and then between that there's solid meals and then and then snacks.
Yeah.
So so basically,
all of this.
You just described my schedule.
There you go. Well, you have 2 kids, right?
No, I
his
mean
personal
that's
schedule.
literally
Oh,
my
that-
schedule. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same as Stella's.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, it's been, the last year has definitely been a struggle, kind of not only figuring out how to manage all of that, but also figuring out how to share responsibilities with Leslie, and then empower and share responsibilities with our new employees, Dan and Preston.
Hey, Dan.
So this first year, I mean, with Stella and the business, how it's been, has definitely been a learning process for all of us, and the guys have been super patient with us. But basically, there is no typical Tuesday.
Sure,
But basically, I'm on morning duty with Stella.
Okay.
I feed her.
Yep.
Leslie gets on the computer first. She's on the computer usually about 8 o'clock, and she's on the computer for like a good solid 2 hours.
You're on
entertain.
Stella duty. Yeah.
We walk to get coffee.
Nice.
At Broome Street.
What is Stella? What's her drink of choice?
Stella's still on water,
Say again.
but she enjoys it thoroughly. But for her, it's more about the dogs at Broome Street. She's a big fan.
She loves
Yeah.
pups.
Mhm.
She was a big fan of Lucy Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just today, when I went to pick up coffee with her, she saw a dog across the street, and she called out the dog's name.
What?
She said Delta. I was like,
Nah.
what? Yeah, she's grown real fast.
Yeah.
So then, basically, my schedule is a lot more flexible in that I can schedule meetings when she goes down for naps, so I'll come down here, or I'll schedule meetings at our house or at our vendors. So I try and plan my week out on Monday, and then I'll just kind of roll with what happens. Preston and I have production meetings every Tuesday. He's the production manager now. And then after naps, I'm either on my computer or in meetings.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it goes every day.
Yeah.
Every day is a little bit different, which is fun.
So in a smooth transition to the next question, which is totally what you touched upon. So everything's different now that Stella's here.
Right.
So how do you balance the work life, and how have things changed since Stella came about?
Well, it's actually been I did touch upon that. So the hardest part has been really taking a step back.
Yeah.
Because for the first 4 years of Rogue Territory, Leslie and I have been all hands on deck, super hands on with every aspect of our business. I was downtown every day.
Every day, yeah.
And Rogue Territory needed that at that time.
Yeah.
And we felt like we needed another year of that, or we could have done another year of that. So
Yeah.
Stella came a year early. But it was just one of those things where it was about figuring out our strengths and what we brought to the table now, because at that time Leslie had customer service and fulfillment dialed in, as long as managing like the business side of the business, and I had production, which is its own variables, but production to a certain extent, training our sewers and getting them to understand the quality that we need to be producing on a consistent basis. We got that dialed in. So at that point, once Stella came, we felt like we were at a point where we would feel comfortable introducing someone else into the business and training them, so we can then focus on customer relations with our retail accounts, because our wholesale business grew pretty quickly over the last, like the year before Stella was born. And that was really not something that we were like expecting. It was just kind of naturally happened. So Leslie took the reins on that, and all the while we were kind of training Preston on all number of different things that we needed to take off our plate, I started kind of training him on what to look for in our product, because he's going to be the eyes and ears for me.
From a production standpoint.
Exactly. So I'm like showing him, stitches per inch. I'm showing him where the bar tack should be, how wide the bar tack should be, what size coin pockets, what thread we use, like just kind of breaking every piece down. So he was a customer before he was an employee, but it's a different approach when they're on the production side. Like you can appreciate a garment for what it is, but when you need to appreciate every aspect of the garment, it totally changes the way that you look at what's coming off the machine. So it's still a work in progress, because I like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but Preston's totally trying to get me to like just focus on development, design, and the stuff that really kind of excites me, and I mean, all the other stuff is in place now. So
life/work experiences that prepared you to start a brand, and what do you still struggle with?
Okay, I'll start with the struggle with first. So by nature, I am not much of a planner.
Sounds familiar.
I don't do well with organization.
We call that you're a piler, not a filer.
Piler. But I like things organized.
I don't know. Can't stand it. Oh, organized piles.
Organized piles. I like to know where things are, but easily accessible.
Sure.
If you will.
I will.
So basically that is the constant struggle, especially since I do have other like people that are expecting things of me, instead of me just focusing on product design, fabric sourcing, all the things that kind of came naturally to me, I guess, because I wasn't essentially self-taught. So it was just the stuff that speaks to me, and I kind of just run with it, and I understand through experience of either wearing or making product what decisions need to be made. But when it comes to the more definitively business side of the business, it's where it's a constant struggle, especially with like spreadsheets.
Oh man.
I'm a big fan of spreadsheets.
F a spreadsheet. You feel me? Can't do it.
But then as far as like what's prepared me to run a business, is really just kind of trial and error. Leslie and I, when we met, we always kind of talked about, back in the day, like doing something together. We didn't know what that was. We both had full-time jobs. We both were young and inexperienced, but she and I kind of bonded on a lot of the same interests when it came to like streetwear, music and art and kind of style in general. So we would like toy around with different kind of streetwear-esque type companies, but ultimately it was just like having fun. It wasn't until we both wanted to have like a career change and we moved up to LA, and I fell into being an apprentice and learning how to make jeans that we were like, wait, there could be something from this. So so through the whole process, we've been on the same page, but the real kicker was, since I was the one that kind of fell into something that could potentially have gained some kind of ground, that meant that Leslie had to take one for the team and essentially get a full-time job, work for corporate America, and make enough money where, I mean, I was making money doing custom jeans and alterations, but that was essentially just everything was just going back into the business, and it wasn't, the idea and the goal wasn't for that to sustain our lives. So Leslie for 3 years worked for a major corporation, which she gained a ton of experience, but at the same time there were a lot of drawbacks with that, of course. So all the while she was asking me kind of, what direction is this going? Are we focusing on custom jeans? Are we doing more with this? So it forced me to start thinking about what Rogue Territory could be
as a brand, as opposed
which I never did. Before that, it was like, oh, I love jeans, and now I have the tools to make jeans, and people seem to like this, so I'm just going to keep doing this. And then, like maybe an opportunity would come down the road where I can expand the custom denim offering and maybe have another shop. Or but along the way, we quickly found that even though that was my passion, and I love the whole process, working with a customer, building something from scratch. It wasn't what I wanted to create, because at the end of the day, I was creating for a customer. So if a customer came to me and said, I want 3 pairs of True Religion, but in a different fit, I want all the bells and whistles that True Religion puts on theirs, I have to do it. If I want to take on the customer, I can say no, but
you got to pay rent.
So basically, it wasn't until the denim buyer at American Rag, where the atelier where I was doing custom jeans was located, asked me if I ever thought about doing ready-made. Did Leslie and I have like a serious conversation about, is this kind of where Rogue Territory should go? And it just, again, like being in that location, I made friends with the right people that kind of had done it before. So I was learning from people that had already gone through a lot of the processes, but the benefit was that I knew how to make a garment. So most people that are like, oh yeah, like a fashion brand would be cool, they have to go hire a pattern maker, they have to hire a sample sewer, they have to do all these things that are really hard.
You were all those people.
So right off the bat, I was able to cut a lot of costs. So that was the experience part that led Rogue Territory to kind of this organic but like very natural and easy progression from denim tailor, custom jean maker to being behind the scenes more. I didn't stop making custom jeans till like middle of 2010. And then what people don't know is that even up until a year after that, in like halfway through 2011, I was a full-time production manager for another company. So I had a full-time job, and Rogue Territory was on the side, and basically everything I was making from that full-time job was going into Rogue Territory. So it wasn't until Leslie knew that she had to leave corporate America, and I knew I had to leave this full-time job, and it wasn't until that point that we knew exactly what Rogue Territory was and where like that we had good accounts, we had some credibility, that we were able to make that decision to focus full-time on that. And that was like kind of the scariest decision to make. But at the same time, we were both really kind of calculated, it's not the right word, but we were just aware of what was coming in and what was going out, and our fixed expenses and all the things that you need to know before you.
But isn't it also intuitive? Like it felt
right. Yeah, it felt right for sure. It wasn't like we had a checklist of like, does Rogue Territory fill a need? Does it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, is there something that we're doing that's different? It was just like, it just felt right.
Yeah.
And Leslie and I just, everything up until this point has been a collaboration, and it just made sense. So it like as Rogue Territory had a collection, we needed a website, and Leslie figured out how to do that, and then we just kept going, and it was like, okay, well, here's another solution we don't have the answer to, but we can figure this out.
Figure it out as you go.
So.
Okay.